Hey guys, Jacqueline Fernandez here at the Alert Center. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Today, the weather is very beautiful out there again, and so you're probably, if you're a homeowner, maybe thinking about, scheduling something with a contractor in hopes of taking advantage of the nice weather and perhaps fixing that siding if unfortunately you were a victim of some of that tornadic activity that we experienced, or perhaps it's just time, right? Like your garage needs an update or what have you. So joining us now to discuss how to pick the right person for the job is the Better Business Bureau's Josh Planos. He's joining us to give us some tips per usual, to talk about good practices, and he has a story, unfortunately, that he's going to share with us, right, Josh, about somebody who did get duped. So you don't want to be like this person that he'll share with us a bit later. Hey, Josh.
Hi, Jacqueline. Nice to see you. The summer weather is upon us, and with that comes a whole number of home improvement projects that folks don't typically want to push into, the winter months. And so,
Right.
for a lot of folks, it doubles as an opportunity to be a refresher on how to secure a contractor that you can trust. And that seems simple enough, right? I mean, a lot of the contractors that we see in and around our neighborhoods are very similar. They might have similar vehicles, maybe slightly different vehicle wraps, but for the most part, they look kind of like a run-of-the-mill hired hand. And
Right.
sadly, what has been reported to us through our scam tracker tool is that there have been folks in Omaha who have been approached by people uh, allegedly offering things like solar panels to roof repair, to lawn care services, none of whom were actually licensed. And might seem like a small thing, right? If you think about someone who has a certain skill set, maybe that they can put together a project if they follow the instructions. I promise you, at bare minimum with your home, the one thing you want to make sure is that that person is appropriately licensed, that they legally can provide that service. And when this person looked up this company or these companies in their neighborhood, they found that they weren't. And good on them, for doing their due diligence, doing their research, and not getting in over their head with a contractor who legally could not provide that service to their community.
And I will say it is so easy to get duped. I mean, I'm sure several of the people watching right now on their phones or on their Fire Stick or however they're getting this alert from the Alert Center. But we've all heard about these contract stories from our Mike McKnight here at First Alert 6, and it's, we always say, oh, it's not going to happen to me, or that's not really realistic, but it does happen because we meet these people and these scammers excuse me, they know how to play the game, right? So they know how to build that connection with the homeowner. They know how to be friendly. They know how to talk to you. They've sort of unfortunately practiced these kind of things. So licensing is important. We also talk a lot about reading reviews. Can you talk about that a little bit more for us, Josh?
Yeah, I think when we think about reviews, oftentimes we look to the star ratings, and that's an incredibly useful shorthand for most consumers. But reviews really do tell a story. It's not just the star rating you should be looking at. In some cases, folks inadvertently provide 1 star when they mean 5, or 5 when they mean 1. You really want to read what the people are actually saying about the company. For instance, are there recurring complaints? That would be a red flag to know of. Are people praising the company's professionalism or their results? That would be a good sign, right? You want to
Yeah.
know what the story that's being shared in these reviews is, and not just are they a 5-star company? Because while that might be useful in some contexts, if you're looking to remodel your kitchen or to install sprinklers, you want to have a little bit more juice to go off of than just a rating system that frankly can be confusing for some folks.
Yeah, that's a very good point, especially I'm a huge Amazon shopper, guilty. But, check out those reviews. 1 star could mean a lot to someone who's not necessarily paying attention to how that rating necessarily works. And by a lot, I mean, gosh, this is the best business I've ever worked with versus the 5-star rating, which, so like you said, it can be confusing. Also, I'm just going to kind of go through this list here because I do want you to get to that story we were talking about. So ask for references, look for a real address, check the website. We always talk about, is the website secure? You want to make sure that's HTTPS is on there. But Josh, more importantly, just, can you share that story with us in some detail? Somebody here in the greater metro did get duped. They fell for this scam.
Yes, this was actually a coworker of mine who sadly had a community lived in a neighborhood that was impacted by hail damage. And what they found, within 48 hours, was that there were yard signs for a roofing company that did not actually exist. It existed, I guess, in that it had a website, but it didn't exist in that they were completely unlicensed with the state. So they legally could not provide that service. And we talk about scams as being something that often targets people online. And to be fair, that's how the vast majority of what is ultimately reported to us, those crimes are perpetrated, is through like digital ads and digital targeting. But this is a situation in which someone had an actual sign placed in their driveway, right? For a company that by all intents and purposes, did not exist, right? This is something that has boots on the ground,
Mm-hmm.
feel and boots on the ground impact. And so luckily this person did walk away before they lost any amount of money, but they knew to do their due diligence. And many others might just look at that sign and say, well, that's legitimate looking. Might as well pick up the phone and make that call. And we want to reach those folks before they do that.
Yeah, and that really does say something, right? I mean, you work with the Better Business Bureau. Your co-person there, your co-employee works with the Better Business Bureau. So these are scams that literally target everybody. So just because what I'm getting at, you do work for the BBB, doesn't mean that you're exempt from scammers trying to scam you, right?
Absolutely. There's an incredible amount of detail and data that is available to scammers before they initiate that targeting. But there isn't avoid this person type flag that goes off in their head or on their online device before they issue a target or they release an ad. This is something that really does impact all of us. And yes, a lot of us do avoid what is ultimately reported. But some folks do fall through the cracks, and some folks, let their guard down. And we certainly want them to, at bare minimum, be doing a little bit of research into that company, particularly this time of year when contractors are found in abundance in our neighborhood, and maybe not all of them legally should be there.
Right. Yes. Very good point, Josh. Wonderful. So let's see here. Anything else that you want to add? I just thought off the top of my head here, especially with natural disasters like the situation we've seen in Elkhorn. I mean, maybe these scammers, we've talked about this before, seems like the perfect scenario where they really do play off your heartstrings. I mean, maybe you're not in your best place after having lost your home, right? After having lost your car, if a tree fell on it, God forbid. So can you elaborate on that point?
Yeah, there's a reason why debt collection scams are particularly devastating and particularly effective after a home has been foreclosed on. All of that information is really useful in painting the consumer into a corner. And when you've dealt with a natural disaster, as folks in Nebraska know very well, you are incredibly vulnerable, perhaps more vulnerable than you ever have been before. And that's why scammers' tactics are so effective in that scenario, and maybe less so when there isn't that additional pressure. But some of these foundational best practices are really important to rely on. Things like making sure that if you see a company that advertises in your neighborhood, to look that company up online and see that they have real physical addresses in your community, not just a P.O. box, that they do have a phone number, that they do have an email address. I know we want to take the shortcut in so many aspects of our lives. Hiring a contractor is really not one you want to be bypassing glaring red flags before you agree to paperwork with.
Yeah, good call, because you literally will be living with that decision most likely for a while. All right, Josh, thank you so much for your time today at the Alert Center. Really appreciate all your tips and tricks.
Thank you for having me, Jack.
All right, nice to see you again. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you. All right, everybody, thank you for sticking with us at the Alert Center. We just heard from Josh Planos with the Better Business Bureau, some tips for hiring a legitimate contractor to make sure you don't get duped. So he had some good tips for us. One, verify the contractor's licensed, read reviews, ask for references, look for that real address, check the website, a bunch of different things. We will have this story available for you during the second half of our 4 p.m. broadcast, right about the 4:30 hour. In the meantime, I do want to let you know that for all the latest updates and the stories we're working on now, just refreshing that grid for you, you can head to our website. That is firstalert6.com. Clearly, everyone is talking about the Omaha mayoral race. The Omaha general election was last night. Polls closed at 8, and we do have those results up on our website as they come in. We are continuing to update those results for you. Now, in the interim, do want to talk a little bit about the weather. We started off chatting about the weather with Josh. It seemed appropriate for people hiring contractors and whatnot. So let's take a live look outside now from our Blackstone camera. My goodness, another beautiful day in the metro. So if Senior Chief Meteorologist Rusty Lord had anything to do with it, Rusty, thank you for this. So he does tell us today mostly sunny to partly cloudy, a high of 90 degrees. I believe, did we just break that 90 degrees yesterday? I think that's what Chief Meteorologist Emily Roller, was telling us. So we've broken the 90s and we have another 90-degree day for you as well. Tonight, as we take a look from our Northeast First National camera, the American flag blowing in the wind there doesn't look too crazy, so that's always good. 30% chance of storms after 9 p.m. tonight, mostly north. Rusty tells us some severe potential with wind and hail, though, so be on the lookout for that. A low of 66 degrees. And then I do love this shot when it's sunny outside. A look from our Southwest First National camera at the Desert Dome, glimmering in the sunlight. Gotta love it. Thursday, 30% chance of early morning showers, then mostly sunny and windy with a high of 81. And then Friday, as we head into the weekend, let's take a look-see here at our 90th and Dodge camera. Traffic flowing smoothly. Friday, partly cloudy, 20% chance of showers, windy with a high of 79 degrees. And again, don't forget, you can always get the latest and greatest from our meteorologists on our website, firstalert6.com. And Rusty has his First Alert 6 forecast for you, and I'll leave this as a web extra. You can kind of go through and decide, what day is most important for you. Are you a timely person? What is this looking like? Wow, this looks great. Nothing crazy on the radar here, so we'll take it. In the meantime, just want to say thank you so much for joining us at the Alert Center. We hope you'll stay tuned for what we have to offer again tomorrow during the noon hour. And until then, please do join us for our broadcast at 3 o'clock with our Dave Zavolinsky. We'll see you then.